Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Saira Mushtaba bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. First shipment of 10,000 tons of wheat from India for people of Afghanistan to be dispatched on Tuesday. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds bilateral talks with his French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian in Paris. Both sides adopt India-France roadmap on blue economy and ocean governance. New Delhi says effective management of India-Bangladesh border is key for facilitating economic linkages and people-to-people contact. Russia says it prevented border breach from Ukraine. Kiev rejects the report, calling it fake news. Drugs Controller General of India grants emergency use authorization to COVID-19 vaccine Corbevax for children between 12 to 18 years of age group. And in cricket, India become number one team in men's ICC T20 international team rankings. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The first shipment of 10,000 tons of wheat from India for the people of Afghanistan will be dispatched via the Atari-Wagah land border crossing on Tuesday, with more food supplies and other humanitarian assistance expected to follow in the coming weeks. In an exclusive interview with All India Radio, Bishaw Parajuli, the World Food Programme WFP representative and country director to India, said the first shipment will be formally flagged off at Atari-Wagah in the presence of India and Pakistani officials and representatives of the WFP. The shipment is being sent after the Indian and Pakistani sides finalized modalities for transporting the wheat via Pakistani land routes after weeks of negotiations. Bishaw Parajoli said the Indian government's assistance at this juncture is highly appreciated. In our hotspot segment today, our Foreign Affairs editor Dr. Atul Tiwari is in conversation with the World Food Programme India Country Director Bishaw Parajoli. Mr. Parajoli outlined the broad contours of the Indian wheat supply to Afghanistan.
Namaskar and welcome to this edition. We have with us Mr. Bishaw Parajuli. Mr. Bishaw Parajuli joined as the World Food Programme representative and country director to India in September 2019. He has more than 35 years of experience in development, humanitarian affairs, diplomacy, fundraising and management in over 10 countries in Asia, Middle East and Africa and WFP headquarters in Rome. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Atulji. It's a pleasure to be here and I'm delighted to talk to All India Radio. It's one of a historic radio channel and very, very informative. Thank you very much indeed.
We begin our discussions on a note that India has offered to supply 50,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghanistan, and very soon these supplies are going to be initiated from the Pakistan land route to Afghanistan. And we are thankful to World Food Programme to have partnered in this initiative. As listeners might recall, very recently the Indian Embassy in Rome signed an agreement with the World Food Programme office there to see to it that the supplies of 50,000 metric tons of wheat are facilitated so that they reach out to the needy and the poor people in Afghanistan. So it's a really welcome sign of partnership in terms of India and the UN agency. Your take on this, sir?
The World Food Programme is really delighted for India's offer of partnership with the World Food Programme to help the people of Afghanistan. In fact, I have participated in similar types of partnership in Yemen when I was previously posted. So it is a great news that India joining hand to help Afghani population, and India showing its humanity in the crisis time where Afghanistan is faced by a serious food crisis. Almost half of the population are hungry, and therefore any support and all the support countries can provide would be a big help. And of course, India's support is absolutely warmly welcome. And in WFP, we want to see this only as a beginning and want to have an increased cooperation between the World Food Program and India in Afghanistan, in other countries in crisis. In fact, there is so much food insecurity in the world, and India has been blessed in many ways with the plenty of food and good harvest, abundance, major transformation in its production. So absolutely delighted of this partnership.
The World Food Program, I saw on the Twitter, has lauded India's initiative and said that this agreement opens the door for a fruitful relation, and more such humanitarian aid efforts will be coming in the times to come with the help of other organizations. In the current situation, how is World Food Program going to facilitate the supply of wheat to Afghanistan?
You know, the first agreement which we have just signed is for a start of the amount which you refer. It's for about 10,000 tons. And India is going to be delivering this in Kandahar. And from there, WFP, with its own structure and manpower and logistics setup it has, will take it to the farthest point in and within Afghanistan. In fact, WFP currently has about 176 trucks of its own. It's going to increase over 200 units, and it has close to 580 staff in Afghanistan. So because what we make sure in WFP is the food reaches to the people who need it. And this is what we ensure in our program and operations across the world.
You mentioned that the premier UN agency ensures that the food reaches out to the needy and the people who really require it. Many international agencies and the governments have said that one of the key issues in terms of outreach of the aid in Afghanistan is to ensure that it should be distributed in a non-discriminatory manner. How are you going to ensure it?
All humanitarian aid follow humanitarian principle, which is making it delivered to the needy without any discrimination, non-interference, and in a way that there is a full accessibility. The good thing is WFP has been in the country for many years through the thick and thin periods, and we have proven ourselves as a humanitarian, and we are trusted partners across the world. And everybody knows WFP, when it's involved, it makes sure everyone needing receives it. And furthermore, WFP also ensures to its donors that there is a full accountability of the aid WFP receives and reported and accounted. So therefore, we have a full mechanism through the network of staff, the partner civil society organization, and trucks, the logistics mechanism. So we're expert in that. So, we make sure it happens, and we're trusted by everybody.
We saw India made the offer way back in October. Then the negotiations went on for about 3 months. And then finally, India signed an agreement with the World Food Program. In the meanwhile, the contours of the program, how it will be distributed, how it will reach out, all this process, how has it evolved, and what level the deliberations were held?
First of all, it also has been a COVID period, sadly. And we had a third wave of COVID. Sadly, that has had some element of delays in formalizing these. And also the transiting part, I guess India was negotiating the transiting. Maybe there was some time into that process. But the moment we signed off on our cooperation we have laid down everything. My colleagues in the country have worked out, and we are ready to sort of take the food to the mouth of those who really need it. And we take a pride in our commitment to save lives and improve lives, and it is a huge challenge. The overall need for humanitarian aid, the food component for WFP, is about $220 million per month. So it's over $2 billion operation. It's at the moment there is 7 million people are being covered, and the target is to reach 22 million. Imagine the scale we are looking at it. And sadly, a huge number of people are considered extremely vulnerable and verged of famine. And we as a humanity cannot afford to do that. And therefore, India joining in with WFP, supporting the Afghan is absolutely a welcome. And it also sets the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam of India.
You spoke about the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Then we saw how the partnership between India and the World Food Programme has flourished over the years. Can you share some examples for the benefit of our listeners? How has this collaboration expanded?
We have had various level of sporadic types of engagement, I must say this. But there is a room for a huge partnership and a very strong partnership. For India, spreading the whole message of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve and the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in practice. And in areas where India has really transformed itself and is capable of, and especially during the current COVID time, the people affected by hunger and food insecurity have doubled from 130 million to 270 million. There is still 811 million people who do not have enough to eat, sadly, globally. Unfortunately, the climate change has affected lots of people in terms of food insecurity. The war and conflict which is taking place in a number of countries have continued, and people displacement have happened, continue to their inability to be in their own land and etc. So there has been this unfortunate situation globally. And also because of COVID, price rise, the job loss, and missing economic opportunities. But I would also say that in this context, the example India has set in responding to COVID has been fantastic. For the last 2 years, people have been benefiting with 5 kilos until the end of March now of rice or wheat, and previous year, including pulses. These have been a lifeline in addition to the previously existing one of the best food safety net programs, such as the public distribution, the midday meal, and integrated child development program. So India has the example and shown to the world what can be done and what should be done. And hopefully, I believe that with this partnership, through humanitarian engagement, India will be also transferring this knowledge as a part of South-South cooperation and support improves people's life. And at the end of the day, hunger is such a basic thing, and we really need to get to zero on the hunger.
The issue of World Food Programme and India collaboration reaching out as an example of, you call it a South-South cooperation or the cooperation in the neighborhood or the SAARC region. What is the potential according to you?
Honestly, there is a huge potential, and we have not even scratched it. In fact, I have very strongly been advocating increased collaboration in improving food and nutrition security, food safety net program, the agricultural promotion. India's transformation in agriculture in the last 50 years from food deficit country with 50 million tons plus to now the estimated harvest prospects is about 316 million is a major transformation. The food safety net program India runs, assisting nearly 1 billion people, is one of the greatest examples. Plus the various, support program India has supporting small farmers, support in agriculture inputs, the financial provisions, the market, the whole supply chain networks, credit system. I was last week in Odisha. I went to farmers' point where they are buying rice. The way it works is flawless. And a farmer is informed, bring your rice. The farmer brings it, it's weighed, quality checked. Within 48 hours, he or she receives the money. Great incentive.
We are observing International Year of Millets, and we have seen quite a few things being cited about the importance and the relevance of millets and how the efforts are being made to increase its production in India and across the globe. Your take on this?
First of all, thank you for asking that question. In fact, I'm a very strong proponent of use of millet, and often called superfood. It has more minerals, fibers, and vitamin compared to general cereals. It's also adaptable to climate change, so it needs less water. It can grow in a harsh condition. I'm so glad to say that the Odisha state has taken a very proactive role to promote use of millets, including use of these in the public distribution program. In fact, a couple of months back, I was in Rajasthan. I was advocating that to the Chief Secretary of Rajasthan. Indeed, it is a good thing to do. And personal experience, I went to a millet cafe in Bhubaneswar and I brought some biscuits. I tell you, I bought 3 boxes and I found them so good, I went and bought 2 more. So I would say, please, anyone listening, try it and you will love it. And it's very healthy, and I think we should promote this. And I also hope celebrities and others give a big voice on millet.
Quite a strong advocate in terms of the millets, and rightly so, as the people and the nation, all of them, they look forward to the ideas which contribute towards the growth of a healthy nation and healthy continent in the times to come. Pleasure talking to you, Mr. Parajuli. Thanks a lot for sharing your valuable time and sharing your insights with our listeners.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Just to tell you on millet, WFP has done a study in terms of best practices of millet production, promotion, and policies and practices in Odisha. In fact, we signed an agreement with Niti Aayog to promote that across, and I want to really congratulate India for pushing it in the General Assembly 2023 as the year of millet, and I think there is so much to gain from this. Thank you for inviting me, and delighted to be here again and talk to you.
In some more news, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held bilateral talks with his French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian in Paris. Both ministers appreciated the close cooperation between India and France during the COVID pandemic and agreed to further deepen the strategic partnership. As part of this endeavour, both sides adopted the India-France roadmap on the blue economy and ocean governance on Sunday. Dr. Jaishankar and Mr. Le Drian also discussed key regional and global issues, particularly the India-EU relationship and the priorities of the French presidency of the EU Council that began on the 1st of January this year. Dr. Jaishankar appreciated the French initiative of hosting an EU ministerial forum on cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, which will be held on Tuesday. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla has said that effective management of India-Bangladesh border is key to facilitating economic linkages and people-to-people contact. Speaking at the 10th India-Bangladesh Friendship Dialogue on Monday, Mr. Shringla said there is a need to work closely to strengthen border infrastructure to ensure smooth transit of goods and people while ensuring that illegal activities are kept under check. He said an example of this approach is the objective of establishing additional border hearts. Mr. Shringla said two-way trade in the recent past has witnessed a quantum jump with exports from Bangladesh for the first time expected to cross $2 billion this year. He said early conclusion of a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement is vital to enhancing this momentum in trade. The Foreign Secretary said another area that needs concerted focus is connectivity.
Russia's military has said that it has prevented a diversionary reconnaissance group from breaching the border from Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed that 5 troops were killed in the incident, which allegedly took place in Russia's southwestern Rostov region. Meanwhile, Ukraine rejected the reports, calling it fake news, and said no Ukrainian forces were present in the Rostov region where the incident was alleged to have taken place. Ukraine's Interior Ministry official Anton Gerashenko told reporters not a single one of our soldiers has crossed the border with the Russian Federation and not a single one has been killed today. The reported incident took place at a moment of extreme tension between the two countries. Western countries accuse Russia of planning to invade Ukraine that it had controlled until the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Meanwhile, Moscow denies planning any attack but has demanded sweeping security guarantees, including a promise that Ukraine will never join NATO. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. Drugs Control General of India DCGI has granted emergency use authorization to COVID-19 vaccine Corbevax for children between 12 to 18 years of age group. The vaccine has been developed by Hyderabad-based pharmaceutical company Biological E Limited, which country's first indigenously developed receptor binding domain protein subunit COVID-19 vaccine. Earlier, the vaccine had received emergency use authorization for the adult population in December last year. The Corbevax vaccine is administered through an intramuscular route with 2 doses scheduled 28 days apart and is stored at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius temperature. Talking exclusively to AIR News, Member Health Niti Aayog Dr. V.K. Paul said, with the emergency use approval to Corbevax, the country has now 2 COVID-19 vaccines for children, including Covaxin, which is already in use for the children aged 15 to 18 years.
DCGI, the Drugs Controller General of India, has approved an Indian-made vaccine, Corbevax, for use in children 12 to 18 years of age. With this now, we have 2 vaccines applicable to this age group, namely Covaxin, which is already being used from 15 to 18, and now Corbevax, which is being made by a company, BioE, located in Hyderabad.
President Ramnath Kovind, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, reviewed the Indian Navy's fleet today at Visakhapatnam. A report.
The Indian Navy and the Eastern Naval Command hosted the fleet review. The 12th Presidential Fleet Review started off with a 21-gun salute. The President reviewed the fleet from Presidential Yacht INS Sumitra.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be here with you today. I am pleased to review the readiness of the Indian naval ships, submarines, aircraft and other elements of our maritime power today.
The notable missions of INS Sumitra include Operation Rahat, a non-combatant evacuation operation in war-torn Yemen in March 2015. The President reviewed 60 ships including INS Tarangini, INS Jyoti and INS Sudarshini. The event was a feast to the eyes. Warships, warfighter flights, helicopters and water para-jumps showcased rescue operations and so many other spectacular events. The warship yacht sailed through 44 ships lined at anchorage of Visakhapatnam. The review took place with a combination of ships from the Indian Navy as well as the Coast Guard. This fleet review is unique as it is celebrating the 75th anniversary of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Abhishek Mukhopadhyay for World News, All India Radio.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said the youth are the future leaders of the country as well as nation builders. Addressing a webinar on budget announcements in higher education, Mr. Modi said empowering the young generation means empowering India's future, which is why there has been a lot of focus on the education sector in the union budget. He said a lot of emphasis has been laid on 5 areas related to the education sector, and universalization of quality education is the first among these. He said important decisions have been taken to expand the country's education system, improve its quality, and increase the capacity of the education sector. Prime Minister Modi stressed that it is digital connectivity which kept country's education system alive in the time of global pandemic. Mr. Modi said National Digital University is a unique and unprecedented step of its kind in the education system of India.
नेशनल डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी भारत की शिक्षा व्यवस्था में अपनी तरह का अनोखा और अभूतपूर्व कदम है। ये डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी में यूनिवर्सिटी हमारे देश में सीटों की जो समस्या होती है उसे पूरी तरह समाधान दे सकती है।
India have become the number 1 team in the men's ICC T20 international team rankings for the first time in 6 years after its 3-0 series win over West Indies in Kolkata yesterday. India surpassed England, which had 269 rating points to take the top spot. It previously held the reins over the format under Mahendra Singh Dhoni's leadership from 12th February to 3rd May in 2016. In this way, Rohit Sharma has become the second captain to take India to the number 1 position. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let's take a look at the press reports on China. New York Times headlines: with Olympics closing ceremony, China celebrates a joyless triumph. The games ended without disaster but overshadowed by a doping scandal, rising tensions in Europe and anxiety over the future of the sporting movement. Hindustan Times writes that India has warned nations against accepting China's aid. It says that China's violation of agreements on not massing forces at the line of actual control (LAC) is the reason why its relations with India are going through a difficult phase. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said, while warning nations not to get sucked into a debt trap by accepting Chinese aid. Reuters reports Hong Kong is in all-out combat to contain a surge in coronavirus cases. The city's number 2 official said on Sunday, with the ramping up of community isolation and treatment units helped by mainland Chinese construction teams. ANI headline reads, Sri Lanka gets closer to India amid fears of Chinese debt trap. It says that Sri Lanka is getting closer to India over the failure of Colombo to pay back Chinese loans worth $4.5 billion amid fears of a debt trap. Fayul reports that China is introducing a new regulation in Tibet to ban religious content online such as worshipping Buddha, and according to a report, it is cynicizing Buddhism. The new regulation measures on the administration of Internet religious informative services will come into effect from March the 1st. Daily Mail reports Twitter has suspended hundreds of suspected fake accounts that were being used to spread pro-China propaganda during the Olympics. Let's take a look at what made the headlines in Nepal. According to the Kathmandu Post, anti-MCC protests disrupted road traffic in Kathmandu throughout the day. 35 violent protesters were arrested from New Baneshwar area. Daily wage earners see difficult days ahead. Hindustan Times headlines reads, Nepal on boil over $500 million US grant. Pro-China Communist parties up in arms. The Kathmandu Post carried the headline phase 3 trials of Chinese mRNA COVID vaccine in Nepal cancelled. The report states that the vaccine manufacturing company has decided to cancel the study.
And now some news from Bangladesh. Movement of all passenger vessels on the popular tourist destination of Bangladesh, St. Martin Islands, was stopped on Monday due to rough weather. The local administration at Cox's Bazar hoisted the cautionary signal 3 at the Cox's Bazar seaport, reports Pratham Alo. The district administration said that close to 4,000 tourists were stranded at the St. Martin Island due to the suspension of passenger vessels.
A quick look at the headlines once again. First shipment of 10,000 tons of wheat from India for people of Afghanistan to be dispatched on Tuesday. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds bilateral talks with his French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian in Paris. Both sides adopt India-France roadmap on blue economy and ocean governance. New Delhi says effective management of India-Bangladesh border is key for facilitating economic linkages and people-to-people contact. Russia says it prevented border breach from Ukraine. Kiev rejects the report, calling it fake news. Drugs Controller General of India grants emergency use authorization to COVID-19 vaccine Cobevax for children between 12 to 18 years of age group. And in cricket, India become number 1 team in men's ICC T20 international team rankings. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Kenya.
Vaishnava Jana
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.